they couldn't even properly layer the CGI soldier right with this animation. For instance, if you look closely here, the soldier actually is kicking the door open, but somehow phases through the door with the kicking animation, and the door is still in place and isn't actually fully open yet. I know that this is a very minor issue, but it really just goes to show once again just how lazy this first segment of Under Ninja really is. I am at a crossroad right now when it comes to this series called Under Ninja. The first episode came out earlier today, and the crossroad I'm currently at is where I have one side of me saying, I enjoyed this. Like, this is good. It has potential. And then on the other side of me, I'm like, this is just horrible. Like, it's really bad. And let's dive headfirst into just this absolute mess of a first episode, because, like, once again, I don't think that this is the worst first episode I've ever seen. I just think that for introduction standpoint, like first impressions, it could have been so much better. And let's just talk about first impressions, okay? This is literally what the series opens up with. And I want to make sure I clarify something. This is the Japanese subbed version. This is not an English dub version. This is the Japanese subbed version. There is no current dub out for this series. So just go in with that knowledge. So I'm going to press play it for a few seconds and then talk about it and then...
Freeze! Hands up!
If you haven't noticed, I'm gonna rewind that for a second, okay? It's CGI. Like, this whole segment here is basically CGI. Like, the character models, full-on CGI. And let's be honest, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good whatsoever. It looks really, really bad. And if you haven't noticed, there is some English on top of this, which it doesn't necessarily sound too bad, but when it starts to really play, like when we get further into the scene and they start talking, like listen to this scene, okay? This actually kind of lets you hear, how the voice acting really ain't it.
His thumb for pressing the phone's detonation button and his head got slashed off by a sword. Nobody else can do this but Ninja.
Nobody else can do this but Ninja. Like, just... The voice acting is so monotone. There's, like, no amount of emotion in it. There's just, you don't feel any emotion whatsoever to these characters delivering these lines of, like, oh, his thumb was sliced off. The only person that could do that is Ninja. And, like, I could put more emotion in it just by saying the lines. Like, here, I'll do it. Nobody else can do this but Ninja. Like, there you go. That's way more emotion than what was just shown for this scene. Like, it's just completely monotone, flat, and it isn't like the worst, like, English I've ever heard for a, Japanese version for an anime, but I just think, like, man, like, at least have some emotion in it. I think anyone would be fine with it if it had some emotion. Like, think of the iconic, scene with, like, Kilma, Hoin Kilma from Steins Gate, where he's like, I'm mad scientist. Like, the way he delivered that had so much emotion and love in it. Everybody adored it. It became a meme, but people loved it because it had emotion in it. And the voice acting here just legit has, like, zero emotion. There is no, like, attention to quality and detail here. It's just, like, they threw it out just to get past this scene. That's how it feels. And the CGI as well just does not look good whatsoever. And I want to point this out. This is only 53 seconds into the episode. This is basically people's first impressions of the show. Soon as they click play. And if you decide to start this series, you're going to be greeted by this CGI, by this horrendous monotone voice acting. It's just like, it's not good. It's not a good first impressions. And then after all this happens, we kind of segue over to this very long, drawn-out scene of these characters on a rooftop, basically saying that, oh, they're kind of cool and all that, they're meeting up, and then, they have an enemy they need to take out that's across to the other rooftop, which are these Gairus or whatever, that's the enemy team, with really not much context whatsoever. Pretty much this entire scene just feels kind of shoved in there, showcasing the characters, which is fine. It is the first episode, but you have have no connection with these characters. The characters look older than they should be as high schoolers in the setting. Just everything is just like, what, is this going for a serious vibe? Or is this going for a comedy vibe? You don't really know, because once again, the beginning of the episode tries to be serious. It's very clear by the way the impressions at the beginning of the episode are, they're trying to present it as a serious show. But then they segue into this moments like here, and it's just like, you can't really take it seriously. It feels like it's more of a comedy than anything else. And then we get into this scene where a character, you know, is trying to basically, he's bored, he wants a mission and all that. It's a flashback, and it feels like, okay, we're getting a little bit on our main character, a little bit of his backstory and all that, and then we get more flashbacks on characters as the episode basically continues on. It's not a really good feeling or paced episode. I feel like just there was too much flashback and not enough consistency with one plotline. There felt like there was just too many plot lines and stuff going on at once throughout this episode that it just didn't know what it was doing with itself. And I don't know if this is thanks to it becoming an anime, like sometimes, adapting a manga into an anime, there could be complications to where, like, it doesn't do as well, because sometimes just it's really hard to adapt a manga or a light novel into an anime. I don't know what the case may be, but it feels like there was a lot of, like, decisions being made here with this first episode of like, okay, we should focus the plot on this, we should focus the plot on that, we should focus the plot on this. It feels like there was just too many cooks in the kitchen, or in this case, the storyboarding of this first episode just did not feel good whatsoever. And once again, there is aspects of this show I do enjoy. I know I've been mostly talking negatively about this show, but there is some good stuff, which I will get into. But, like, I feel like whoever was cooking on this episode, they just did not know what they really wanted to do with it. Like, it felt like there's just too many people making decisions and not really having a concrete vision on what this first episode should actually showcase to its audience. Because first impressions really do matter, and I feel like a lot of people that start this episode and they're greeted with this CGI, they're gonna drop the show. I want to be completely honest. Most people, as soon as they see this, you could say that's petty or whatever, but let's be honest, there is too much anime that comes out nowadays. Like, just think about this. Just from this week alone, from just casual stuff that's came out that I could just remember on the top of my head. We've had, like, Shy, we've had, Free Run that came out the past week, we had that gorgeous Bleach episode, we have, that other series, what's the series? Shangri-La Frontier. There's this other, like, villainous story that came out. I mean, we have Undead Unluck tomorrow. I mean, there's a bunch of things that have been coming out in the past few days just alone, and it's like, people, as soon as they see this, they're gonna be like, okay, skip, and then move on to the next show that probably came out today to watch. First impressions matter, and this is not how you win over audiences. It's not. And I feel like, anyone that watches this is instantly going to drop it because of just how it is. But the content after is decent. Like, I do want to point this out. The content is decent. I do like the atmosphere, or at least the tone of the colors of the backgrounds and stuff. But the animation, even without the CGI, feels very stiff. It feels like there isn't a whole lot of movement going on. And I don't really know how to properly explain that without being really into, like, animation and art and all that. But it feels stiff. The episode feels very stiff. It feels like just the storyboarding and all that just did not flow right when people were working on this episode, and that's not even including, like, the story, as I said. Just the pacing in general just does not feel right. It feels like there's just too much going on within this episode. But, yeah, you can't always have instant banger series, in your shows. I mean, we can't always have, like, a Free Rend or a Shangri, that. We can't always have anime series like that. We need series like Under Ninja to really temper our expectations and bring us back down to earth, to really showcase kind of the bottom of the barrel, or at least close to the bottom of the barrel of how bad anime technically could be for first impression wise. This is a nice reminder anime to just really showcase how blessed we are to get stuff like, Free Rend, Shangri-La Frontier, to Undead Unluck, that's going to be tomorrow. I like series like this because it allows everybody to kind of remember, how far anime has come and just how lucky we are to have some of our favorite series really get really great quality. I feel bad for maybe the Under Ninja fans, because I heard that this is actually a good manga series, but the anime, this ain't it, man. It ain't it. This is not it. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. You all have a blessed and wonderful day. Chibi out.